Everyone wants a pair of baggy, selvedge denim, but it's so damn expensive. Why don't I teach you how to pattern your own selvedge denim from scratch that is tailored to your size? Disclaimer, this is how I pattern pants. There's thousands of ways to pattern, so if I do it incorrectly, just know I probably did, but that's just me though. That's just me. So today I'm going to teach you how to pattern baggy selvedge denim from scratch. Let's go. All right, the tools you'll need is pattern paper. This is just regular craft paper that I got from my local arts and crafts store. Measuring tape, pencil, and a various of rulers. I have the regular ruler, French curves. These aren't really French curves, but they're like, you know, curved rulers. So the first thing you'll need is your measurements. This is a list of all the measurements you'll need for this pattern, and I'm gonna show you how to measure yourself. To measure your waist, we're gonna start at the belly button and we're gonna wrap around. Make sure your body is relaxed to get the most accurate measurements, and that will be your waist measurement. For the hip measurement, you do the widest part of your bum, so it'll be right here, and you're gonna wrap around that point, and that'll be your hip measurement. For the thigh measurement, you'll do the mid-thigh range to get your thigh measurement. For the knee, you'll also do that for the knee right here, and same for ankle. Now to get your crotch depth measurement, you're gonna sit on a chair and sit up straight. Starting from the belly button line, you're gonna start from right there, and then you're gonna go all the way down to the bottom of the seat, and that'll be your crotch depth measurement. And finally, waist to hip, waist to thigh, waist to knee, and waist to ankle is pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna start off at the belly button point, waist to hip, which is right here, where the most roundest part of your bum is. So waist to hip, waist to thigh, mid-thigh, waist to knee, and waist to ankle. That'll be the measurements you'll need for the pattern. Now that we have our measurements, we're gonna take a look at the waist and the hip measurement. I like to add another 2 inches onto my waist, so that will be 34. And for my hip measurement, I add 4 inches as well. Now I have my paper laid out. I'm gonna draw some straight lines just to have a guideline to follow. So I finished drawing out the lines. It's practically a big rectangle, just so that when I'm starting to pattern, I can see if my lines are straight or not, and if they're aligning with the other side. Now we will begin. So I'm gonna start off at the top line. This will be considered our waist. And if we refer back to our measurements, we will go waist to hip, which is 9 inches for me, waist to thigh, waist to knee, and waist to ankle. So then you're gonna basically apply that to here. So you're gonna go waist to hip, waist to knee, waist to ankle, and then crotch depth, etc. Now we should have a grid of our guidelines using our measurements right here at my waist, my hip, crotch, thigh, knee, and ankle. And now we'll start drafting out the front pattern. So starting from the waist point, we're actually going to take our hip measurement and divide it by 4. My hip measurement is 41.5, and so I'm going to divide that by 4. So that comes out to 10.375. So for my waist point, I'm going to draw a point 10.375 inches out. All right. And that's what it should look like. And we're actually going to draw from that point all the way down to the crotch point. Just like that. Okay, so now that we have this line down, this will be 1/4 of your hip. And from here, we're going to draw a point 1/2 inch down and 1/2 inch inside into the pattern. Create a point right there. From this point, you're gonna divide your waist measurement by 4. And you're gonna connect this point until it reaches that specific measurement. 34 is my waist. 34 divided by 4 is 8.5. From this point, 8.5 inches to the top of this line. From here, now that I have this line, this point, I'm gonna draw a straight line to the hip line down here. Now that we have the straight line, I'm gonna curve it to make it look nicer. Because we're patterning selvedge denim, we won't really need to do much with this side because it needs to be straight. So it's really simple. So now that I have this curved, we're going to move on to the other side. So we're going to take 1/4 of our hip measurement and divide it by 4 again, and then add 1/2 inch. For me, that is 3.09 inches. From this point at the crotch line, I'm going to go 3.09 inches out this way. So this will be our crotch point. And then now we got to connect this to this point, but obviously we're gonna have to curve it out. And just a heads up, from right here at this perpendicular line, leave at least 1.5 inches of space just for room when you're wearing the pants. You must curve this to this point without touching this. Okay, and that's how it looks like for me.
So at this specific crotch point, we're going to keep this in mind. I'm going to make it a dark spot, and we're going to transfer this onto the back panel. This is where it gets really simple. At the ankle point, this is how big you want your leg opening to be. So for me, I'm going to do 11 inches of leg opening. And once I have this point, I'm just going to draw it up with every little guideline that we have here to the knee. For the thigh, you don't really have to, but it's optional. But I'm going to just connect the crotch point to the knee point and then down to the ankle point with a slight curve to it. And there you have it. That is the front pattern of the selvage denim pants that you're making for yourself. But before we even finish this, we had to make the back pattern. I recommend keeping this whole grid before you cut it. And we're going to lay over another piece of paper and then we're going to trace out the outlines. Okay, now I have a new piece of paper laid on top of the pattern. I'm going to trace out the grid. Now this will be our back pattern. As you can see, I traced out all the grids and then I have that crotch point that I mentioned earlier. From this point, we're going to go 2 inches out and then half an inch down. This is our new crotch point for our back pattern. Now we're going to move over to the top waistline. We're going to draw a point at 1/6/8 of an inch out and an inch up. And from this point, we're going to take 1/4 of our waist measurement, draw a line to match that measurement to this waistline, similar to the front pattern. There it goes, 8.5 inches down to the waistline. From this line, we're going to curve it out to this new crotch point that we made earlier. So I curved the crotch point over to the waist point we made earlier. Should look like that. And then similar to the front side, we're going to take our leg opening, which is 11 inches. And now, with these points, you actually don't connect it just yet. We're going to add half an inch out, and even on the other side as well, where the straight edge is at. So now with that new half-inch point, now we will connect them. From this new waist point, we're gonna actually just curve that down to here. Okay, so now I've connected all the half-inch points down, and this will include the seam allowance, so you won't need to worry about that. Except for this top layer right here. Make sure to add half an inch of a seam allowance right here. You should be good. And I curved out the waistline to the hip line right here and then ½ inch down. And then finally at the end, at the ankle measurement, we're gonna draw a straight line 2 inches out. 2 inches out, and then we're gonna connect those lines. These 2 inches are for the hemline on what you would see on regular denim pants. 2 inches is just enough for the hem. And you'll also repeat that on the front side. And back to the front pattern, I'm also going to repeat that 2-inch allowance for the hem. And do not forget 5/8 seam allowance around the front pattern. So let me draw that out. All right, now this is my front pattern with the 5/8 seam allowance, including the hem allowance. And basically you're just going to cut all of this out. Same for the back side. And no need for the 5/8 seam allowance on this curve on the back pattern. Don't forget your seam allowance right here, and you're all good to go.
Alright, so that is pretty much the tutorial on how to pattern selvage denim from scratch using your measurements. I basically showed you how to pattern the front and the back pattern, and then everything else will follow. The fly, the waistband, the buttons, the yoke. In case you do want a tutorial on that, let me know. I'll make another video on it, but there's plenty of videos on YouTube. I hope that was easy to understand. Hopefully I didn't go too fast. It's actually quite simple. The more you get hands-on with the pattern making, it will get more easier and it will just become second nature. Also, disclaimer, I am not the best pattern maker, nor am I the best sewer. This is how I've been making my pants. So maybe if you do want to start commissioning or just making personal pairs, go ahead. Let me know if this tutorial helped you out, and peace out. Yo. Yo. Yeah. Yeah.
If you made it this far into the video, I am making selvage denim for my clothing brand. It features a back buckle with a leather patch. OKSTAN, you feel me? This is made out of a 13-ounce selvage denim with a really dark wash with donut hold, with donut buttons, silver rivets, and a dart at the knee. Stay tuned for that if you're interested. OKSTAN. Follow it on Instagram.